If you love epic fantasy stories with unexpected twists, make sure to click that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss any future videos. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Now, let's enjoy the video. Sacrifice 20 years of anxiety. Open. Sacrifice. I chanted the peculiar spell 6 times in a row, consecutively opening 6 of the lowest grade wooden treasure chests. Each emitted a faint white glow, failing to produce anything of tier 2. I looked at the contents with some disappointment. Inflatable doll. Just in case you're curious. Golf club. Tier 1. Can be used as a weapon, or for entertainment. Telescope. Forget about peeping. Maybe good as decoration. Crude pistol. Tier 1. No bullets. You might have to keep drawing straws. Bath set. You might want to smell it first. Rice seeds. Labor is glorious. Compressed biscuits. Alright, I mused to myself, the lowest grade wooden treasure chests were really losing their appeal. Most of the items these chests yielded would have been useful a few days ago. But for me, now that my strength had improved and I had ample supplies, they were becoming unnecessary. Perhaps I could take them to the trading post, or use the mutation technique for a lucky draw. Unfortunately, I hadn't yet reached the point where I could freely use the mutation technique. I still needed to reserve it for crucial situations. Without dwelling on how to deal with these items, I turned my attention to the remaining treasure chests. I chanted the spell, skillfully opening 2 of the higher grade wooden treasure chests. One of the chests emitted a strong white glow, indicating something of tier 2 had dropped. I focused my gaze. Advancement scroll. Tier 2. Can upgrade tier 1 items to tier 2. The specific effect depends on the item's properties. Stamina potion. Tier 2. Restores 200 stamina points upon consumption. Essential for running away. You wouldn't want to be a whimpering lamb, would you? These were the items from the brightly glowing chest, both quite practical. Especially the advancement scroll. I already had some ideas brewing. I put the items away and looked at the contents of the other chest to my surprise. It turned out to be pretty useful as well. Backpack expansion scroll. Increases system backpack capacity by 5 slots. Aloe seeds. They can be useless, or very useful. My system backpack had always been lacking space, forcing me to carry some items on my person. This caused me considerable inconvenience. I hadn't expected to obtain another expansion scroll, and the added 5 slots would greatly alleviate my storage pressure. Thinking this, I was in high spirits, but my good mood quickly faded. I had the aloe seeds, but to create healing potions, I still needed another ingredient. Lavender. Where could I find some? What frustrated me even more was that, even knowing aloe seeds could grow into aloe plants, I had absolutely no idea how to cultivate them. I could only shake my head, sigh, then take out the backpack expansion scroll and use it. With a flash of light, the system backpack successfully expanded by 5 slots. Immediately after, I put away the aloe seeds. I mumbled, I wonder if I can get aloe even after using the mutation technique. I could also hand the aloe seeds over to someone with a talent for cultivation to help me grow them. But I didn't trust anyone. Rather than trusting that someone would diligently cultivate the aloe for me, I'd rather gamble with the mutation technique. Though the mutation technique had never failed to alter the original nature of an item. But those were matters for later. Right now, there was something more important. My gaze turned to the 2 stone treasure chests. This was the first time I had obtained stone treasure chests. They should have appeared after the mist tide. I didn't know how they differed from the wooden ones. The possibility of opening a higher grade treasure chest filled me with excitement. Sacrifice 40 years of laziness. Open. Quote, As the two treasure chests glowed with white light, one clearly shone more brightly. A 5% chance, and I actually got it. I eagerly looked at the chest containing a Tier 3 item. Inside lay a blueprint and a scroll. Stone Ram Puppet Blueprint. Tier 3. One-time use blueprint. Allows creation of a stone ram puppet. Possessing basic sentience. Capable of understanding simple commands. And usable for combat or completing simple tasks. Spirit Bomb Manufacturing Scroll. Tier 3. Allows crafting of a powerful spirit bomb. Disadvantage. High cost 0/5 iron. 0 halves beast cores. 0/30 crystals. Good stuff. Seeing the descriptions, a smile stretched across my face, uncontrollable. Let's not mention the spirit bomb. Something requiring materials to craft always has preconditions and isn't practical. But the stone ram puppet, being a Tier 3 puppet, I could upgrade it to Tier 4 after using mutation. It was definitely a powerful weapon for the current stage. As for why not directly use mutation on the blueprint and then summon a higher tier puppet, and then upgrade it to Tier 5 with mutation again. I had already thought about this. The truth was, it simply wasn't possible. Mutation altered things, and could only affect the same object once. If I used mutation on the blueprint, would it still be a blueprint? I hadn't failed to consider it, even wanting to try. Unfortunately, I had a vague intuitive feeling that I wouldn't obtain the blueprint itself, but rather something created from a mutated blueprint. While it would still be upgradable, it was better to directly use the blueprint to create the item and asterisk then upgrade it, rather than risk obtaining something uncertain. At least the result would be controllable. This was also why I had never considered mutating blueprints or scrolls. After obtaining 2 Tier 3 items, looking at the last treasure chest felt a little underwhelming. It was like the calm after a peak. I casually scanned its contents. Workbench Blueprint. Tier 2. One-time use blueprint. Allows creation of a workbench. Using beast materials, wood, crystals, etc. It can craft Tier 2 and lower weapons and equipment. Adds materials to automatically craft. Convenient, fast, and essential for survival. Repulsion Potion. Tier 2. Reduces presence, even causing all mist creatures to subtly repel you. They will instinctively want to stay away. Note: only effective on Tier 2 and lower creatures. Huh? I widened my eyes, astonished, and exclaimed, "Is this the benefit of a stone chest? Even ordinary drops can bring surprises." This workbench blueprint was a godsend. A workbench was something I currently lacked, and I had a pile of beast materials with no place to forge them. And this repulsion potion, I was also very satisfied with its function. After all, I really wanted those mist creatures to never come near me, preferably to ignore me completely. It was a shame this potion was only Tier 2, but it was enough. I just needed to see what effect mutation could bring. This harvest made me feel that all the dangers I had experienced today were worth it. The exhaustion, close to draining my stamina, eased considerably. I was a little hungry, and casually picked a meatball fruit, eating while collecting the efforts of Little Pickaxe and Little Axe. Off work, off work. I waved at the 2 little creatures, who quickly ran into the stone house. Wood plus 275. Stone plus 114. Crystals plus 56. Adding the 108 crystals I obtained today from killing Tier 1 creatures. I now have a total of 553 wood, 522 stone, and 349 crystals in my backpack. I only needed a protective core to upgrade the shelter. Standing at the entrance of the stone house, I stood quietly. I narrowed my eyes slightly, my gaze reaching the mist, trying to see further. However, the heavy mist seemed like an invisible barrier, blocking my vision within 30 meters. Snowflakes danced and fell leisurely, accumulating little by little, adding a touch of color to this boundless and desolate mist-filled world. I thought of the fog walker and the black ram I had encountered today. I thought of my humiliating escape. Compared to those gods, I was so small, so insignificant, but... Old gods? I raised my right hand, as if trying to grasp everything in my palm. A depth and brilliance I had never seen before blazed in my eyes. The door clicked shut behind me. It felt as if I were completely isolating myself from the mist world, offering me a slight sense of peace and a strange feeling of security. I took a deep breath, composing myself, and turned to walk inside. After thinking for a moment, I took out the blueprint for the workbench and decided to place it in the storage room. Entering the storage room, I scanned the space. Empty treasure chests were neatly arranged on the floor, filled with various monstrous beast materials. Fortunately, there was still a large empty space in the storage room, so I casually chose a spot. Click craft. Quote, a white light flashed, and the blueprint in my hand disappeared, replaced by a seemingly ordinary stone workbench. Its appearance wasn't much to look at, even a bit crude, but I wondered what its functionality was like. I walked forward and tried placing a Tier 1 heterogeneous mantis blade on the workbench. A interface suddenly appeared before my eyes. Tier 1 heterogeneous mantis blade plus 0/5 iron plus 0/10 stone plus 0/10 crystal equals Tier 1 scimitar. Just as the system described, it could be crafted simply by inputting materials, convenient and efficient. Putting the mantis blade down, I placed a Tier 1 Earth Dragon Scorpion Tail. Tier 1 Earth Dragon Scorpion Tail plus 0/5 iron plus 0/10 wood plus 0/10 crystal equals Tier 1 Dragon Scorpion Spear. It seemed the material requirements for Tier 1 weapons were roughly the same. I tried a few more, all requiring iron, which I couldn't craft at the moment. It was a shame I hadn't obtained higher tier materials. Otherwise, I could have seen what the material requirements were for higher tier weapons. I wasn't very interested in crafting Tier 1 weapons. I didn't need them right now, and it would be a waste to craft them just to mutate them. The cost didn't justify the return. I planned to directly mutate the workbench tomorrow to see what would happen. With that done, I took out another blueprint, the Stone Ram Golem blueprint. Compared to the workbench, I was much more interested in this golem. The workbench required materials, while the golem could be obtained immediately. The dangers I faced today made me even more eager for high-tier combat power. I didn't get lucky every time. The dangers I encountered today weren't life-threatening. But what about next time? Or the time after that? I couldn't rely on luck alone. And, if all went according to plan, I would be able to upgrade the golem through mutation tomorrow. No matter what it became, I would gain a Tier 4 combatant. Just thinking about it filled me with excitement. Having a Tier 4 combatant would undoubtedly make me even more formidable in the Mist world. If it was powerful enough, I even considered going to challenge the so-called Old God's follower, the Black Ram. As for the Wandering Mist, that thing was a bit strange, and I didn't want to provoke it for the time being. It didn't seem sentient anyway, as long as it didn't threaten me. Shaking off my thoughts, I clicked craft. Quote, a white light flashed, and the blueprint disappeared. A towering figure over 2 meters tall slowly materialized. The Stone Ram Golem was entirely composed of hard stone, appearing exceptionally sturdy, fierce, and majestic. Bang! As soon as it appeared, it knelt on one knee before me, like a knight awaiting orders. Too bad. I wonder what it will look like after being mutated tomorrow. I didn't dwell on it too much, as I didn't plan to use the golem directly. I would mutate it as soon as the time came. I casually ordered it to sit on the ground and, not lingering any further, exited the storage room. I had another task to complete, after which I could resume my meatball business, and perhaps even moonlight as a clothing merchant today. Arriving in the hall, the dim, reddish glow of strange oil lamps cast a uniform light. Little Axe and Little Pickaxe were dozing on the wooden bed. Beside them lay a pile of clothes I had collected, which were now largely unnecessary to me. "Little Axe," I called softly. Little Axe instantly straightened up, walking over to me with a clatter. They were always obedient, no matter how tired they were. Thinking about this, I couldn't help but feel grateful for having these two companions. They had helped me immensely in the early stages. I didn't delay any further and took out the Advanced Scroll. Advanced Scroll. Tier 2. Can upgrade a Tier 1 item to Tier 2. Specific effects depend on the item's properties. That's right, I plan to use it on Little Axe. Not for any other reason. Simply because Little Axe deserved it. I didn't bother to consider how valuable the Advanced Scroll might be, it was irrelevant. Without Little Axe, I might still be desperately chopping trees on the first day. Racing against death. One shouldn't forget one's roots. Even as a boss, I couldn't let a founding employee feel disheartened. I targeted Little Axe and clicked to use the scroll. The scroll in my hand transformed into white light, enveloping Little Axe. Little Axe instantly began to change. 4 new tentacles grew out, and the axe's appearance became considerably more refined. Little Axe seemed excited, flailing its 6 tentacles wildly. Aside from the tentacles, there weren't any particularly significant changes. I opened the system description. 8 Tentacle Iron Axe. Tier 2. An axe that has undergone unknown changes. Capable of automatically harvesting wood-based resources and possessing considerable combat power. Judging from the description, it was the same as Little Pickaxe. The system's upgrades were predictable and lacked originality. But since it had been upgraded, Little Axe was no longer the same item. It could be subjected to the mutation technique again to reach Tier 3. I wondered what Little Axe would become then. Ginger Lynn was both looking forward to it and worried. I anticipated Little Axe becoming a Tier 3 creature, but I was afraid that it would no longer be Little Axe. Hopefully, everything goes smoothly, Ginger Lynn thought, watching Little Axe's happy display, and silently prayed. I instructed Little Axe to rest, put away the meatball fruits I'd collected today, took a sip of water, and went to my room. I sat on the large, soft bed and opened the regional chat. Regional chat, 5,527. Nearly half of the people in the region were gone. I looked at the chat channel, which lacked the bustle of the past, and felt a sense of melancholy. But I quickly suppressed that feeling. Brothers, it's getting colder and colder. I feel like I'm freezing to death. I don't even want to go outside. Is anyone still selling clothes? I'll trade crystals. I remember Meatball Bro got a lot of clothes before. Can you sell some of them? Quote, yeah, I remember too. Meatball Bro, you can't wear them all yourself. Sell some. I'll give you plenty of crystals. Quote, I hadn't expected someone to mention me, but I did have the idea of selling clothes. I'd collected clothes before because I was afraid of the cold wave. Now that I had a temperature-regulating suit, I only needed to keep 2 sets as a precaution. The regional chat was much cleaner now. Those who constantly begged or demanded handouts had long been eliminated. Those who remained were at least sensible, and at worst, self-aware, offering something in exchange for what they needed instead of simply taking. I thought for a moment and decided to post an advertisement before listing the items. Clothes are slow to sell. Help us out. 10 crystals each, first come, first served. I didn't pay attention to the reactions of the people below and went to the trading post to list the items. Random clothes for 10 crystals or iron. Delicious meatball fruits for crystals, beast materials, or iron. I specifically added iron, a resource I had learned about today, to see if anyone had obtained it. Once I was done with all of that, I returned to the chat channel to see what was happening. I skimmed past a heap of obsequious praise, people fawning over big spenders and powerful figures. I looked up and quickly noticed some useful information. I killed a tier 2 monster and got a stone chest. It's much better than a wooden one. That's nothing. I actually found an underground ruin, but there was a tier 3 beast inside, so I didn't dare go in. I found an iron mine. It feels like it's a material needed to upgrade the shelter. Anyone who needs it can trade materials with me. I paid special attention to this post. It was posted by a person named Zhang Shu, ranked in the 20s on the leaderboard. His talent was swiftness. I remembered him. This person seemed to have sent a friend request, but I hadn't accepted it because his statements were too abstract. I rummaged through the friend requests, and it took me a while to find Zhang Shu's. Zhang Shu, big boss, please accept me, I'm willing to lick your boots. Previously, Zhang Shu had been among the top players on the leaderboard, and I had intended to accept him. However, due to his abstract speech, I excluded him from my friend list. I clicked accept and sent a message. Zhang Lin, do you have iron? How much are you selling it for? Quote, just as I was about to close the chat window, the other person replied instantly. Zhang Shu, whoa, big boss, you finally added me. I do have iron, a lot of it. Zhang Shu, big boss, how did you become number 1? What's your talent? Quote, Zhang Shu, big boss, are you looking for a lackey? I'm best at being one. Zhang Shu, big boss. A flurry of messages flooded the screen, leaving me somewhat stunned. I already knew that this Zhang Shu guy was particularly fond of boasting in the area chat, but I hadn't expected him to be such a chatterbox in private as well. Faced with Zhang Shu, who was overly familiar and talkative, I grew impatient. I always valued time and disliked pointless chatter. Zhang Lin, let's talk business. How much for the iron? Quote, I disliked Zhang Shu's personality and always believed in getting straight to the point and exchanging equal value. The other side was silent for a moment, seemingly considering how to respond to my directness. Soon, a message arrived. Zhang Shu, big boss, how much do you need? Mining takes time. I can dig up 30 units a day. This Zhang Shu was good at reading people. In a few words, he determined that I didn't like pleasantries and thus spoke more directly. Too little. That was my only thought. I'd been spoiled by Xiao Hao, who often provided dozens or even hundreds of units at a time. However, for survivors, mining was physically demanding. 30 units was quite a lot for someone like Zhang Shu, whose talent wasn't focused on physical enhancement. Better than nothing. I silently thought. Iron was still useful. Aside from being used to craft weapons at a workbench, it was also a component of energy bombs. Furthermore, just like Zhang Shu said, upgrading higher-level shelters might also require iron. Zhang Lin, you don't need iron right now, do you? If you work for me and mine iron ore, I'll give you the materials you need in return. How does that sound? Quote, meanwhile, in a level 2 wooden shack somewhere, Zhang Shu read my message with a growing sense of excitement. True to his reputation as the top player on the leaderboard, he immediately wanted to hire someone and offered materials in return. He was truly generous, seeing how many materials he still needed to upgrade his wooden shack. He felt a glimmer of hope. Finally, he wouldn't have to face the dangerous monsters in the fog anymore. He had swiftness, and he could exchange the loot from treasure chests for wood and stone. But crystal stones were hard to come by. Crystal stones could only be obtained by killing monsters, and they were the most scarce resource in the area. Everyone needed them, and no one was willing to trade them. He carefully considered his words and cautiously replied, "Zhang Shu, big boss, I still need a lot of crystal stones to upgrade to level 3. Would 30 iron for 30 crystal stones be acceptable?" Quote, after sending the message, he was anxious, afraid that his price was too high and would leave a bad impression on the big boss, causing him to refuse the trade. He didn't know the true value of iron and had only guessed that iron was a material used to upgrade higher level shelters. Even if it were true, he was still in a level 2 wooden shack. If he couldn't upgrade to level 3, he might not even live long enough to see it, let alone upgrade to a higher level. I looked at the price Zhang Shu quoted and found it reasonable. A trade was a trade. As long as I thought it was worth it, dissecting the value was pointless. The price of a commodity depended on the willingness of both parties. For me, crystal stones weren't hard to obtain, but iron was a scarce resource. I found the one-to-one exchange very worthwhile. Zhang Lin. Okay. I didn't haggle, unaware that Zhang Shu on the other end was overjoyed. Zhang Shu, great, big boss, should we trade now? Quote, Zhang Shu, big boss, do you have a lot of crystal stones? Did you get them by killing ferocious beasts? Quote, Zhang Shu, boss, you're amazing. You must have incredible talent. Unlike me, who can only run away. Zhang Lin was momentarily speechless. This guy, Zhang Shu, seemed to talk non-stop when excited. Zhang Lin, put your goods up for sale in the trading post. I'll buy them. You figure out how to improve your mining efficiency, and I can fund you if you need it. He still needed Zhang Shu to mine for him for the time being, so Zhang Lin just let him ramble on. Things went smoothly after that. Delicious meatball fruits were exchanged for 34 crystals and some ferocious beast materials. Now, people were starting to live better lives. One crystal could buy a delicious meatball fruit, which was nutritious and filling. Many people considered it a good value for money. The clothes seemed to be priced too high, and no one bought them. Zhang Lin had to lower the price, eventually selling them for 4 crystals each, earning 48 crystals. The clothes were all exchanged for meatball fruits. Considering 1 crystal per fruit, he earned a profit of 3 crystals. Though it felt like a bittersweet victory, he ultimately earned 52 crystals and 30 iron, bringing his total to 401 crystals in his inventory. He earned a lot of materials with just a few clicks. Zhang Lin was in a great mood and exited the system panel. He had saved many hungry and cold people today. He felt like a truly kind person, and this area was lucky to have him. The time was 12:23 a.m. today. Because of the many transactions, it took a lot of time, and he hadn't realized it was already the 6th day. The number of mutations had refreshed, and his spiritual energy had also fully recharged. Zhang Lin didn't want to sleep for the time being. Or rather, he couldn't sleep. He was excited just thinking about mutating the Tier 3 puppet. But before that, he planned to upgrade the little axe first. As one of the earliest companions, the little axe deserved it. Furthermore, his sanity was at 29 points. If he guessed correctly, reaching 30 sanity would increase his spiritual energy, allowing him to mutate the Tier 3 puppet to its fullest potential. He came to the hall. The little axe and little pickaxe were both dozing off. Without waking them up, Zhang Lin activated the mutation technique. 50 spiritual energy covered the little axe. The little axe's tentacles began to change, seemingly becoming more robust and covered with fine scales. 4 new tentacles also grew out. The axe itself also changed, becoming a double-edged, serrated iron axe. Mutated 8 tentacle iron axe. Obtained mutated serrated axe. Mutated serrated axe. Tier 3. An iron axe tainted by an unknown aura. Perhaps it is beginning to walk a strange path. It can automatically collect forestry resources and possesses strong combat power at the same tier. Zhang Lin widened his eyes, staring at the system introduction, a wave of astonishment rising within him. The words "tainted by an unknown aura" lingered in his mind like a mist, leaving him deeply puzzled. What did this mean? Could it be a special effect of the mutation technique? But the mutation technique was a talent recognized by the system. These doubts were destined to remain unanswered. Unable to find a solution, he had no choice but to put them aside for the time being. After all, relentlessly pursuing answers to something with no clues would likely waste his energy and time, ultimately yielding no results. However, judging by the effect, this mutation upgrade was extremely successful. The little axe had become a powerful force among Tier 3 weapons. He imagined that such a Tier 3 weapon would make chopping wood effortless, much faster than a logging machine. Thinking of this, Zhang Lin smiled knowingly, glancing at the still sleeping little axe. He didn't disturb it and turned towards the storage room. The main event was yet to come. Entering the storage room, a stone ram puppet over 2 meters tall sat quietly on the ground, like a massive stone statue. It was indeed useful and obedient, but Zhang Lin needed a combatant capable of facing 4th-tier entities, so he could only try to mutate it. Before doing so, Zhang Lin glanced at his personal panel. Name: Zhang Lin. Talent: Mutation Art. Unique. Skills: Swift Steps. 3rd tier. Dream Eye. 4th tier. Constitution: 18. Sanity: 30. Health: 100 100ths. Spiritual Energy: 150 200ths. Overall Evaluation: 1st tier. Mutation Art. Can mutate and upgrade any object, but each object can only be mutated once. The effect depends on the amount of spiritual energy invested. Limited to 3 uses per day. Quote. Upon looking, Zhang Lin was somewhat surprised. Spiritual energy had indeed increased, but the number of uses for mutation art hadn't changed. Previously, when his sanity reached 20, his spiritual energy doubled, and mutation art increased from 2 to 3 uses. He had originally expected the same to happen when reaching 30 sanity. But things hadn't turned out as he expected. It seemed mutation art had hidden rules he didn't know about, but without a reference point, he couldn't figure out how to increase the number of uses. Could it be that the 2nd tier has something special about it? Zhang Lin could roughly deduce the requirements for reaching the 1st tier, simultaneously reaching 20 health and spiritual energy, at which point the overall evaluation should reach the 2nd tier. Therefore, 20 sanity actually corresponded to the 2nd tier, and that was when the number of uses for mutation art increased. The 2nd tier must have its unique qualities. Zhang Lin just wasn't aware of them. He also didn't know if any survivors had reached the 2nd tier. The area chat hadn't mentioned it yet, but most people had already reached the 1st tier. So reaching the 2nd tier might not be easy. Perhaps the 2nd tier truly was a special tier, as he suspected. Thinking this, Zhang Lin stopped dwelling on it. Looking at the stone ram puppet before him, he activated mutation art. 100 spiritual energy surged forth, covering the entire puppet, which began to twist and contort. This was the first time Zhang Lin used so much spiritual energy for mutation art, and he felt this time the effect would be unprecedentedly powerful. Chirping tilde, a strange and mysterious sound broke the silence of the stone house. seeming to come from a distant unknown, evoking a sense of vastness and longing. Before Zhang Lin's eyes, the original puppet was gone, replaced by a spherical object shimmering with crystalline silver light. It hovered silently, appearing tranquil and mysterious. Just as he was stunned, a radiant white glow shone down from nowhere, plunging directly into the sphere. In an instant, the sphere burst with intense light, blinding him. When the light gradually faded, a shocking sight appeared: a tall, delicately featured, and somewhat feminine doll standing quietly before him. Its body lines were smooth and natural, its skin as translucent as crystal, and its overall color was silvery white, radiating an aura of cold, lunar elegance. "Master, command." A cold voice broke the silence, though it was clearly unfamiliar with pronunciation, pulling Zhang Lin back to reality from his surprise. Hello. Wait a moment." Zhang Lin scratched his head in response, exited the storage room, and closed the door. Taking a deep breath, he quickly calmed his mood, picking up a mink coat and a set of neutral clothing from the wooden bed in the hall. It wasn't a big deal. After all, it was just a doll. But Zhang Lin felt it was better to have it dressed. He entered the storage room again and handed the clothes to the doll. "Put these on, just like I'm wearing," he instructed. Without paying much attention to the doll fumbling with the clothes, he opened the system prompt. Mutated stone ram puppet. Obtained moon mirror doll. Moon mirror doll. 4th tier. A doll tainted by an unknown aura. It has entered the path of the bazaar. It can understand all commands. Has extremely strong learning ability and combat talent, and can use the active skill Moon Mirror Space. It is unrivaled among peers. Moon Mirror Space. 4th tier. Exclusive skill. Draws enemies into a space composed of mirrors and moonlight. The mirrors constantly reflect moonlight, shooting at the target. Over time, the moonlight will increase, eventually covering the entire moon mirror space. Cooldown time: 72 hours. Too strong. After reading the introduction, Zhang Lin could only exclaim. I had long since become accustomed to the fact that the beings I mutated were stronger than me, like Little Ho and Little Axe. But even so, I was still shocked by the terrifying power of the Moon Mirror doll. Black Ram? What is that thing? A single moon mirror space would instantly make it obedient. Didn't you read the system introduction? Unrivaled among peers of the same level, meaning virtually invincible at the same level. This time, I felt I had truly struck it rich. It was worth using 100 spirit force to mutate something. The effect was amazing. Of the dangers I'd encountered so far, only the wandering mist left me helpless. Of course, I was also a bit concerned about the red-eyed people I had detected through the dream eye that night. I just didn't know what kind of being it was. While I was thinking, the Moon Mirror doll had already put on its clothes and fur coat. Its learning ability was truly strong. I hadn't taught it anything. It simply glanced at my attire and understood. From now on, you'll be called Xiao Ying. I hastily named the Moon Mirror doll, simply because it looked crystal clear and translucent. I had always been terrible at naming things, prioritizing practicality. Xiao Ying was simple, but easy to remember and evocative. Xiao Ying nodded, without speaking, quietly waiting for further instructions. It seemed a bit concerned about its earlier stumbling over its words, likely feeling it had made a bad impression on me. I suddenly didn't know what to do next. Having a beautiful, talking, moving doll suddenly appear in my home, anyone would feel awkward. Shaking my head, I chuckled at myself. It had been a long time since I'd encountered a being I could communicate with, causing me to feel so hesitant. The living room was occupied by Little Axe and Little Ho. The storage room was spacious, so I decided to use it as Xiao Ying's room. I quickly put my plan into action. having Little Axe and Little Ho sleep on the chairs in the living room, and began moving the bed. It was a bit difficult for one person, so Xiao Ying helped me as well. Only Little Axe and Little Ho seemed confused, exchanging looks in the living room, their tentacles and spider legs waving as if they were communicating about what had happened. Soon the bed was in place, and I casually handed over an extra pillow. Although the conditions were simple, the doll probably wouldn't care about that. You'll rest here from now on. Wake me up at 9 a.m. tomorrow, when it's light outside, when the lights go out. To help the naive Xiao Ying understand what light meant, I explained it in detail. Xiao Ying's learning ability was strong. Its crystal-like eyes stared intently at me, nodding as it listened. Confirming that Xiao Ying understood the meaning of light, I turned and left with peace of mind. Back in my room, lying on my soft bed, I still felt a sense of unreality. Mutation magic always resulted in bizarre and grotesque creatures. Was this some kind of malfunction today? While the formation of Xiao Ying was also strange, at least its appearance was beautiful, which didn't align with the usual style of mutation magic. But thinking about exploring the mist tomorrow, I didn't dwell on it. I pulled the covers over myself and fell asleep. I was also quite tired today, having run more than 10 kilometers. No malice targeted me tonight, and I didn't have that dream of the deep sea again. It was a peaceful night. It's 9 o'clock, Xiao Ying's cold, yet increasingly practiced voice sounded in my ear. I opened my eyes and looked at Xiao Ying standing rigidly beside the bed. She was wearing a neutral outfit and a mink coat. Although her overall demeanor remained aloof, she inexplicably possessed a touch more vitality. I suspected she might have practiced speaking all night, otherwise she wouldn't suddenly sound so natural. Do you need to eat anything? I sat up and asked, as if suddenly remembering something. Master, I do not require sustenance. Her voice was slow, as if afraid of saying the wrong word or pausing too long and displeasing me. Do you need energy? I asked. Master, I autonomously absorb spiritual energy. I thought to myself that this spiritual energy Xiao Ying spoke of was likely something similar to spiritual qi in fantasy novels. Then come with me to explore the mist, I gave the command. Yes, Master. Xiao Ying's voice was concise and cold, but I always felt she sounded somewhat pleased. Dismissing this minor episode, I got up and went to the hall, took a meatball fruit and ate it, then took a sip of water to rinse my mouth. Perhaps I should get some toothpaste and a toothbrush, I thought. I hadn't brushed my teeth since arriving in the mist world, simply because the conditions didn't allow it. I decided to ask in the area channel tonight if anyone sold them. Xiao Hao and Xiao Fu were already standing energetically in the hall, waiting. Xiao Fu had both tentacles braced on the ground, 10 tentacles waving up and down in a dizzying display. The saw-toothed double-bladed axe looked quite imposing. I was still getting used to Xiao Fu's changed appearance. You two, go to work, I gave the order casually. The two quickly ran out, everything as usual. This had become their habit. I didn't worry about their safety. Xiao Hao was at the entrance of the stone house, and Xiao Fu was already a Tier 3 combatant. Cutting down trees nearby shouldn't be dangerous. I didn't rush out, but instead took out an item. Repulsion Potion. Tier 2. Can lower your presence, even causing all mist creatures to subtly reject you. They will subconsciously want to stay away from you. Note: only effective against Tier 2 and below creatures. I had one more mutation available today, and I decided to use it on this potion. I could also use it on the workbench, but to increase the safety of exploring the mist, I decided to first mutate some useful items. Mutation activated. The final 50 spiritual energy points overflowed, and the potion quickly changed color, turning purple with a reddish tinge. Mutated repulsion potion, obtained seduction potion. Seduction potion. Tier 3. Can increase charm, causing all creatures to feel goodwill towards you and subconsciously want to get closer. Note: effective against Tier 3 and below creatures. Effect doubled on creatures of the opposite sex. I'm speechless, I said, both amused and exasperated. The effect could actually be reversed? I hesitated for a moment about whether to drink the potion. If I drank it, I would become more attractive to the creatures in the mist. But if I didn't drink it, it was still a Tier 3 potion, and it would be a waste not to. What if this goodwill proved useful? While hesitating, I suddenly noticed Xiao Ying staring fixedly at me, as if questioning what I was doing. Right, I have Xiao Ying. I don't need to be afraid. Tier 3. Although I can't beat it, it's not a problem for Xiao Ying. Thinking this, I directly raised the potion and drank it. Strawberry flavored, doesn't seem to have any effect. After drinking it, I didn't notice any changes in my body. Xiao Ying was Tier 4, and the potion wouldn't affect her. I had no way of judging the effect at the moment. Never mind, I still needed to explore in another direction today and couldn't waste any more time. Let's go. Quote, I confirmed my equipment and, with Xiao Ying in tow, went outside. Before my eyes was a snow-white landscape. Thick snow had completely covered the ground, with footprints left by Xiao Fu and Xiao Hao at least an inch deep. I glanced at the temperature display on my thermal suit, minus 20 degrees Celsius. The cold wave had truly arrived. I could imagine other survivors shivering while collecting materials. It was indeed arduous. Not only did they have to face the dangers of the mist, but they also had to endure the cold and hunger. Only the strongest of the strong could survive. Stepping on the snow, I walked towards the back of the stone house, with Xiao Ying following closely behind. Yesterday's 2 explored directions are temporarily unnecessary to revisit, unless I want to go head-to-head with those 2 Tier 4 creatures. The Black Ram can indeed be dealt with by Xiao Ying, but I myself am only Tier 1. There's no need to put myself in danger. Who can guarantee that the Black Ram is the only Tier 4 creature there? The Mist World is vast, and I haven't even grasped the surrounding situation yet. I shouldn't waste time fighting. My top priority right now is to find clues to the defensive core. Deeper into the mist dispelling collar constantly clears the mist within 30 meters. Xiao Ying seems particularly interested in everything around her, constantly looking around. We walked approximately 1 kilometer. Suddenly, a 2-meter-tall, wolf-shaped black ferocious beast burst out of the mist. Its entire body was covered in vicious spikes, its back resembling a hedgehog. It let out a piercing howl from its bloody maw. I was startled. My dream eye hadn't warned me in advance? But I quickly realized the reason. This wolf-shaped beast wasn't attacking me, but Xiao Ying. There wasn't a trace of panic in Xiao Ying's crystalline eyes, only a sort of human-like curiosity. This was the first time in her life she'd been attacked, so a feeling of novelty was unavoidable. Xiao Ying, kill it. Quote, I naturally perceived this. My thought process had been enhanced by the Wraith potion. And to prevent Xiao Ying from misunderstanding, I gave a direct command. Xiao Ying, hearing this, instantly switched to a serious posture, a cold glint bursting from her eyes. Moon mirror spikes. Quote, with a soft cry, she instantly unleashed dozens of white light-formed mirror shards. The shards, reflecting a frigid white light, shot out and instantly pierced dozens of spots on the wolf-shaped beast's body. Blood and flesh splattered, falling all over the ground. The snowy ground instantly turned crimson. So strong, I exclaimed, slightly stunned. I hadn't even clearly seen Xiao Ying's attack when the beast was already flailing and falling to the ground. covered in blood and gore. Truly a top-tier Tier 4 combatant. System scan. Blackthorn Wolf Corpse. Tier 2 Ferocious Beast Corpse. A beast killed in a single strike. Wolf claws can be used as forging material. Extremely fast in life. With poisonous spikes on its back, highly toxic. I'd encountered a Tier 2 beast after only walking a short distance. This direction was definitely more normal. I used the serpent tooth blades to cut off the wolf claws and stored them in the system backpack. I patted the somewhat dazed Xiaoying, signaling her to follow me. One person and one familiar stepped across the snow, leaving long footprints. "Are you feeling a bit uncomfortable?" I asked, noticing Xiaoying seemed distracted. "Master, it's just curiosity," Xiaoying hurriedly explained, flustered, stumbling over her words. "Don't be nervous." I hadn't expected such a strong reaction. Xiaoying was good in every way, except that she cared too much about my opinion. She seemed to view me as some great terror, even worrying that she'd be reprimanded for speaking unclearly. Actually, I was also quite uncomfortable the first time, so you don't need to feel bad about it. I still remembered the first monster I'd killed. A snaggletooth man. It had human legs but an utterly disgusting torso. At the time, my only thought was to overcome my fear. But after actually killing it, I'd struggled internally for a while. I'd wondered if it was also a living creature, and if killing it was truly a tragedy. But later I realized it was just needless self-torture. One leads to another, and I'd killed many more monsters and ferocious beasts. There wasn't much reasoning involved. It was all just for self-preservation. If I didn't kill them, they would kill me. It was as simple as that. As I walked and shared these thoughts with Xiaoying, she visibly relaxed. But I felt she wasn't uncomfortable with killing, but rather with the sensation of death itself. She was curious about it. Looking into her cold silver eyes, I felt I was being overly considerate.